Okay, so episode number 10. And this is absolutely wonderful here that we have the opportunity to share with one another once again in this space of Phoenix Rising Live. And thinking about what does it really mean to rise above the ashes, to be reborn into a brand new reality? What is that all about? And ultimately, every time you reinvent yourself, you're being reborn. You're reinventing yourself. You're allowing you to be you. You're giving yourself permission to be the best version of yourself. And you're gaining a greater level of confidence in being true to who you are. And that's really what this is all about. This entire life experience is just about you being yourself to the best of your ability while having zero insistence that it needs to look a certain way, that things need to happen in a certain order. Zero assumptions about your definitions of life and how things need to specifically work out in any regard whatsoever. And that's really all we're doing here. And we just do that every day, every moment. And a lot of people have a lot of ideas about the way things should work, structure of how they believe things ought to be organized. And everyone's right. That's the beautiful thing about this reality. Everybody's right, but not everybody's right for you. And that's in business and in personal relationships. That's true. And we all know that to a degree. The challenge is, how do we fit in? How do you fit in being yourself? Many of us grow up in environments where a part of us may be accepted by friends or family, but other parts are not. So we learn to acquiesce. We learn to maybe piggyback off the aspects of ourselves that people really do invest in, that really do bring acceptance. And then we push away the parts of ourselves that maybe are not as well received. And think about it. Are you really being true to yourself if that's the way you function? Are you really being true and authentic to living your best life if that's how you behave in the world? And that can certainly serve you to a degree. I mean, if you were too much of a black sheep in your family, would they cast you out? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. They just learn to deal with it. So it's all dependent on what's happening in the circumstance. But the fact is, here now in this moment, you have the ability to decide to be the best version of yourself, and you have the ability to choose to be confident in being unique, in being the special version of you that you are. And it doesn't matter what other people say, because there's enough people on the planet. We know this through the interconnectivity of social media. There's enough people on the planet that will accept you. And if you're excited to share a message, if you're excited to act a certain way, I'm talking in the positive sense, obviously, then you have the option to give yourself permission to do that. It's not that you should, but you have the ability to, and you know that you will magnetically draw in the people that are meant to hear your message. And so just allow that to be present to you in this moment. That it's safe to be yourself. And that you'll always be supported. And that whatever you may be experiencing in your reality at any given moment is the perfect thing for you to be experiencing, whether you're aware of it or not. It's here to serve a purpose. It's here for a reason. And ultimately, that reason becomes for your greater growth in life. And then it's up to you with your own creative self-expression to discover how you're going to utilize the circumstances for your growth. And that's what being true to yourself is all about. So, funny story here in the online dating world, which something I've been drawn to and potentially will be drawn out of in the near term, but we'll see. And it's interesting interacting on these dating apps because people are dramatically different than on social media, because it's easy to find your tribe on social media. Once you're proficient at it and you know where to look, you know how to find people that are at least in your vibrational resonance. And that's just part of the learning process. And it's just how it works. In the dating world, online dating world, that's not the case. Now you can obviously set filters and things, and that may or may not be what people are paying attention to when they're seeing your photos. And it's a great training process to understand vibration and frequency, because everything is energy. And so a lot of humans go on looks, but looks is just part of the overall picture. It's much more the underlying, the intuition, the energy, the emotion that creates a bond with another human being, personally and professionally. So what something looks like, it may look great on paper, but then when you actually get into it, it's not a fit. And in the dating realm, it's interesting, this lady had swiped me or whatever, and there was a match, and I saw her and I'm like, okay, great, let's have a communication. And we got, I don't know, a few texts into it, and even when she asked me, what I do, I had told her, it's a great day, things of that nature. She seemed surprised by that response. Every day is a great day. And then I told her, she asked, why is it a great day or whatever? And I said, well, I taught a class today. It was phenomenal. Students gained a lot of value. And just in general, life is wonderful. And she said, oh, what do you teach? And I said, well, I teach the structure of existence and how you can utilize that to align with your preferred reality. That was my response. And when I was responding, I mean, that probably seems like a natural, ordinary thing if you're listening to this, but I could feel energetically in sharing that response that it wouldn't resonate with her and that she'd probably run away. And you could feel that. And it's not that I was creating that. No, law of attraction, people, that ain't how it works. It's a premonition. You're just feeling where the energy's at. And simultaneously, I noticed in myself, well, I could dumb this down. I could give some sort of other answer, but it wouldn't be real. It wouldn't be true. And, I don't need to placate someone else's understanding of life and their perceptions. And in fact, if this isn't a match with someone, I want to find out the sooner than later. No need to drag it on. So, sure enough, I sent that because she was responding right away to all the texts. And then that one, no response. And I went back in there to see, just to check on it, sent a follow-up question. And then she had disappeared, had removed the chat. And it's an interesting process because something as simple as this is a great learning exercise. And many people take those things personally. Many people overlook these small things and see them as inconveniences or, that was a waste of time. I wish that wasn't happening. And you're being very immature if you're taking that approach, because in every moment, there's an opportunity for you to grow and gain something of value. And so why not take advantage of that? Why not use everything? You don't have to overdo it, right? You've got to look deeper into it. What I just explained is what I just explained. That's it, right? 1 or 2 minutes of insight and you becomes an interesting story, right? So some people go overboard with that. You don't need to do that either. So being true to you and just catch it when you feel like you need to acquiesce to someone else's belief construct, whether it's a family member, a friend, just notice. And even if you still act the way you don't prefer, don't judge yourself, just notice that you're doing that. And if you, in that moment, realize what you were about to do or what you could have done, and you decide, hey, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to be me. And if it annoys people, so be it. That's their problem, not mine. And I'm not talking about being annoying, right? I'm talking about being true to yourself. And if that brings up a lot of negativity in people, maybe those aren't people that you need to spend time with. And then you can look at the reasons why you're creating environments for yourself where you are annoying people or having yourself surrounded by people that are being triggered by you. And maybe you don't need to do that anymore. Sometimes that's the case with family. Just because you have your family doesn't mean you got to be with them for the rest of your life if they're not working for you. It's all about vibration. Align with your soul family. Align with the vibrations that are familiar to you. And what do I mean by familiar? I mean natural. I mean the ones that are your home frequency, the ones that are true to you. And that's how you step into the reality that you prefer. You align with that more and more and more and more, without insisting that it needs to have a certain time frame or certain look to it, without assuming that certain things mean something, but really looking into it, really looking into your own definitions, your own perceptions, contemplating, not necessarily analyzing. Sometimes that word is misconstrued, so let's avoid it for now. But taking a look, observing from an emotional place, experiencing the emotions of your perceptions, of your definitions, and realizing whether they actually work for you or not. And it could be like, oh, there's something wrong with me. That person rejected me. Or it'd be like, oh, no, I created that circumstance so she would leave and I didn't even have to do anything. And it was just an experience of self-reflection in the dating app case. So that's all we're ever creating. Everything that you've experienced in your life is your own creation. And you put it there for your growth, for your evolution, for your learning about you, about yourself in a deeper core way. It's interesting as well. I'm spending a lot of time the last 24 hours listening to Cesar Millan, who's the dog training guy, and certainly an enlightened master in his own right when it comes to his craft, but also as a human being, very advanced and mature in his understanding of things in human psychology as well as dog psychology. And when you think about the ego mind that's inside of you, that reptilian brain, that animal brain that's inside every human being, it's not that different from the way a dog is operating all the time in terms of what the mind can do, how it can get distracted and fearful and get into survival, or when it's been being given the nutrients that it requires, then it's all good. Then it has everything it needs and it's nurtured and cared for and supportive. So how do we relate to ourselves in that respect? How do we understand that deeper core ego side of the mind, of the brain, that animalistic side that often we feel that we're at battle with, in conflict with? Just having some basic understandings of how it works and how to allow your mind to be trained. Know what the boundaries and limitations are of the ego construct. When you're trying to make it do something that it's not designed to do, of course, that's going to amount to stress. The brain itself is designed to receive information, not to conceive information. The conception happens from the higher mind. And of course, people that don't understand this, they think that they're coming up with ideas. And that's great. You know, it really doesn't matter if they understand the full process or not. If they can implement it and make an impact, that's all that counts ultimately. But then at some point, you want to have an idea of how all of this is constructed, if that's relevant for you. It's relevant for me. Obviously, it's my passion. And so you receive the idea from your higher self. You receive an emotional vibration, a spark to take action on it. You take action on it, then you learn something. You then allow yourself to have that experience. So the higher mind conceives it, your brain receives it, and your mind, which is separate from the brain, your mind perceives it. Depending on your mind, depending on the filters, depending on the beliefs, positive or negative, depends on how you filter that perception. Many people have false perceptions. And when you encounter people that have false perceptions, hallelujah, you're just gaining more contrast and using that as fuel to align with what you prefer. Also, Caesar talks a lot about the idea of leadership and the different layers of leadership in a dog pack in the animal kingdom, but this is also prevalent in human nature. And you obviously want to use your discernment. Don't paint a brush over it in the sense that it's the exact duplicate for humans as it is for animals. There's definitely some replication. Allow your own imagination and creativity to see the subtle nuances, the distinctions. But to be a leader means you're having direction, you're providing protection, a safe environment for people to be themselves and to grow. If you're in the middle of the pack, then you're a happy-go-lucky worker, moving things along, helping the flow, allowing the implementation to take place. And the back of the pack are the more sensitive ones, not necessarily ready to step up and be the greatest version of who they are, but learning, observing, and it's possible to play all roles at different times. When you're first learning something, it's not really appropriate to be a leader because you're just learning it. But if it's relevant for you, then you'll grow into becoming a leader. So knowing your role and playing that role and understanding where the energy is at. It's the other beautiful thing, particularly about dogs, is that they are a direct reflection of your energetic state. And so Caesar is a master of energy because he's been working with dogs since he was a child. And that's really what this energetic game of life is all about, is understanding where is the energy flowing. When you have a negative thought, it's not that you're creating that. That's a belief in the mind. That's a energetic flow that you're present to. And potentially you no longer have to be present to that if it's not to your preference. But it's also showing you what you can look at rather than needing to avoid it or cover it up. And sometimes you're simply having a premonition of what's coming and you're resisting it. There's no point in resisting what's going to happen. Can you change what's going to happen? Maybe. But why would you be shown something that's going to happen that's not relevant for you? If you're creating that for yourself, you might want to look at those beliefs. Right? So aligning yourself with the natural state of what is and what is happening with the highest probability and tuning into that so you can be a leader if that's what you're choosing to be. And allowing yourself to take charge of your own life first and foremost, and then naturally stepping into that role in whatever way is most comfortable for you with others. And it's one step at a time. There's no right or wrong approach to this. And it's all a journey to becoming yourself. It's a shamanic journey, a mystical journey of being a mystic. Tapped into the ether, tapped into all that is, tapped into your greatest and highest self at all times, in all ways. That's what's accessible to each and every one of us in any given moment. And I encourage you to tap into that to the best of your ability in each and every moment, so that you can have creative self-expression in the greatest way. And you can allow yourself to have full confidence to be yourself at all times, in all ways. So thank you for listening to another amazing episode of Phoenix Rising Live. And I'll see you all on the next live tomorrow for the next episode. And remember to join me for the Phoenix Rising Masterclass every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We had a wonderful class today, some amazing breakthroughs, people gaining a lot of value, moving their lives forward. And it's just one step at a time. That's all that's required. So I'll see you there. Much love. God bless. And bye for now.